bitch, you thirsty, please grab Sprite. My crib's lurking, don't die tonight. I just wanna dance with you, baby. Just don't move too fast, I'm too crazy, man. Down the avenue.
Tapping into the mind of Vince Staples is going to be as difficult as it is easy. In today's rap game, there is absolutely no one else out there that is more transparent, but more importantly, more in touch with reality than Vince Staples. At first glance, you almost can't take Vince seriously. Staples is so in touch with his come up, his sobriety, and he almost comes off as the exact opposite of your typical rapper. He doesn't go out, he budgets his money carefully, he doesn't drink or smoke. How is it that this seemingly uninteresting figure could be such a loud voice in the rap game? Well, his music should be enough to keep you around. Staples likes to rap about his past, a past full of dead homies, crippling poverty, and running from the police. All of which he had to experience in the vicious and calculated environment that is Northside Long Beach, California. But let's start with the basics. Who is Vince Staples, and how did he become the most sober voice in hip-hop?
I was up late night ballin', counting up hundreds by the thousand.
I was up late night ballin', so far from my past misfortune. No sleeping, late nights, no eating, gun squeezing. I'm a real artesian, Ramona. I was round that counter, still down. I'm a North soldier.
Though he was born in Compton, he later moved to North Long Beach after his mother decided that she wanted to move away from Compton due to all the crime. Staples is the youngest of 5 siblings, 2 brothers and 3 sisters. In countless interviews, Staples likes to paint a clear picture of how hard it was for him growing up. His father is a big reason why he never got into drugs or alcohol. His father was known for heading a lot of gangbanging and drug dealing, which led him to never really playing a legitimate role in his family. So for most of his life, Staples had nothing that really belonged to him. His own bed was never in the picture, as he would constantly have to share a room with his siblings. During really hard weeks, Vince and other siblings would sometimes have to split fast food combos 4 ways. In an interview with Ebro in the Morning, Vince recalls on how he grew up on basically nothing but fast food, and how it has negatively affected his health today. The only days my mama could afford to cook was on Sundays. Maybe, Vince recalls in the interview. In the same interview, Staples looked back on how when he first started to tour, he would very quickly become fatigued and he would lose his voice for 2 weeks at a time. This was mainly due to the lack of proper nutrition in his body. As far as schooling, high school proved to be some of the most influential years for Vince's outlook on life. During high school, Staples was sent to Atlanta to stay with one of his sisters. He attended high school there for 6 months, and after returning to Southern California, Staples attended other high schools: Jordan High School in Long Beach, Mayfair High School in Bellflower, Esperanza High School in Anaheim, and Kennedy High School, among the others. The combination of trying to avoid conflict and trying to live to see another day really started to shape Vince Staples' framework of how the world works. As he grew older, he continued to keep to himself, and he had no real desire to be there for anyone other than his mother, siblings, and the streets that raised him. However, Staples tries to make it a very clear point of emphasis during interviews that his share of gang involvement was more about survival than a love for the lifestyle. By his late teens, Staples was tired of running, tired of poverty, and tired of living life on a day-by-day basis. So as a way to get away from it all, Vince started to spend a lot of time in the studio.
Send chills up spines of fat bitches at the shows, throwing out sandwiches. Niggas get it how they live, and I live for money. Other words, I'm getting money. Little boy told me when it's time to ride, they'll send it for me. Ain't nobody scaring me. Niggas ain't prepared for heat. Tools hit.
In the beginning of Staples' escapism through music, he met producers Dejan Lavish Samu and Chuck Woon. Immediately, they saw how Staples refused to really take rap seriously at first, but how he had the potential to be onto something. Lavish took Staples on a trip to Los Angeles, where he befriended a couple members of Odd Future, Sid the Kid, Mike G, and Earl Sweatshirt within the mix. Although he had not intended to become a rapper, he made some guest appearances on their songs, most notably EPAR, that was taken off of Earl Sweatshirt's self-titled debut mixtape. After featuring on some other tracks, he decided to pursue a career in rap. His guest verse on EPAR exploded around hip-hop forums during the release of Earl from Earl Sweatshirt. Little did he know that he started a little following of his own when Earl went missing to the Samoan Islands. His exposure came when people were hunting down more Earl tracks, but were finding him instead. To get a better idea of how aggressively Staples immediately approached the rap game, I recommend listening to some of his early features on the songs EPAR by Earl Sweatshirt, Alley by Mike G, and Lunchbox by Jet Age of Tomorrow. When Earl had gone off to the Samoan Islands, it seemed as though Vince had backed off a little bit in terms of his involvement with Odd Future, though he would frequent with Sid and Mike G, as it seemed as those three remained tight. Mike G would go on to release another mixtape with multiple features with Vince Staples as well. The relationship between Odd Future and Vince Staples proved to be a mutually beneficial one. Vince worked on crafting his rapping and got to avoid the hardships of back home, and Odd Future got contributions from young and uprising talent. The year is now 2012, and Vince Staples would go on to release his first mixtape titled Winter in Prague. At first listen, one can take note of how ahead of its time the mixtape is. Vince is confident, dark, and obsessed with the war against his demons. The mixtape sounds like it could have been released sometime between Summertime '06 and Prima Donna. In the same year, Earl Sweatshirt would return from the Samoa and introduce Vince Staples to Mac Miller. The immediate chemistry between the two would lead them to pump out the Stolen Youth mixtape in 2013 under the alias Larry Fisherman. At the same time in 2012, Earl Sweatshirt had returned to LA and to Odd Future, and the two would reconnect their friendship as well as their musical relationship. Uzuuru would then take notice in how engaged Vince Staples was becoming in the LA hip-hop scene and would go on to push him to release a couple more singles. What should fascinate you the most about Vince Staples is how quickly he can adapt to a range of beats. For someone who did not take rap seriously at all, it is incredible to see how much talent he has had this whole time. The themes within Staples' lyrics are generally repeated over and over, but each time they're delivered, they come with a different set of emotional backing. Whether it's adding a new layer of aggression, heartrending stories, or numbness, Staples truly captures emotions in an impressive vocal fashion. The momentum for Staples did not stop going into 2013. This time, he linked back up with Mac Miller and had his entire debut mixtape Stolen Youth produced by Mac, while also then supporting him on tour for the Space Migration Tour. After making 3 appearances on Earl Sweatshirt's debut studio album Doris, including the single Hive, the liner notes revealed that Staples had recently signed to hip-hop record Def Jam Recordings. In a much later interview with The Breakfast Club, Vince was asked why he felt comfortable signing with such a big label as opposed to staying independent. To that he replied, "Def Jam helped me when I needed them the most." To an artist who had to face so many major life lessons early on, this statement speaks volumes about Vince finally getting to turn his life around. This major signing was his first big break, and more importantly, his first taste of financial liberty.
I'm the man 10,000th Street, on the blood, on the leaves, on the nose, and the Sphinx. One front, we don't go to police. One front, we don't run, we just roll with the heat. I'm the back of the bus, take a seat, take a ride on the side, where we down the street. And the cops don't come for some weeks, no the cops.
Being surrounded by so many concentrated and focused hip-hop minds, it only made sense that Staples would continue to keep the ball rolling in his career. After touring in early 2014, Vince released a music video for Blue Suede on August 15th. A gritty mixture of black, white, and blue feels post-apocalyptic with the beat ringing like a bomb siren. The nuclear bombs hit you repeatedly in the form of banging bass. Shortly after this, on September 9th, Vince releases Hands Up on iTunes. Hands Up has an unforgettable hook with some of the most meaningful bars from Vince. These tracks were being released as singles for the incoming EP, Hell Can Wait, which was released on October 7th, 2014. If you haven't figured it out at this point, Staples has always been really good about pacing his work and keeping the momentum going on his music. Finally, on February 26th, a tour with Earl Sweatshirt gets announced. This was significant for many reasons. One, Vince got the opportunity to tour with someone who really introduced him to the rap game, but more importantly, he got to tour with another creative that really shared the same dark vision and appreciation for hip-hop. About a month later, Vince released his first single off of the debut album Summertime '06. The single Senorita, which featured Future, actually sampled Future and part of his song called Covered in Money. The next day, he announced that his second LP, Summertime '06, would be released on June 30th. The album announcement was exciting and made sense at the time. Vince had a mixtape year/pace at this point, and with each being better than the last, the build-up to an album was clearly the next episode. The production on Summertime '06 proved to be more mature than previous projects, and in this album, Vince explored grittier and sunless beats that paralleled the themes in his lyrics really well. Songs like Senorita and North North served as leading songs on the project and pretty much summed up Staples' attempt at embodying a persona that is still caught up in the middle of hustling and violence. Those songs like Street Punks made the album feel secretive and underground, in the sense that Staples is talking out a story to you, almost bragging about his past stunts. Vince's reliable talent and growing reputation would earn him a spot on the 2015 XXL freshman class. Post XXL, Vince's relevancy was only catalyzed even more.
I ain't no preacher, nigga. I'm just a viewer. All them streets you was afraid to visit. Live your life through my lyrics. Now watch me paint this picture. Jabari blood on my easel. My homie died due to negligence to the policeman. You can't tell me no different. I still can hear him screaming. He was barely a teen, and Jesus couldn't save him.
Fast forward to July 25th, the internet is getting hyped about a new song with Vince, Andre 3000, and James Blake. Vince announced on August 15th that his new EP, Prima Donna, would be out next week. This would include new music and a short film. Prima Donna, like pretty much every Vince Staple project, did well in the realm of critics. This EP has an awesome sequel to Loca called Loco, which features the same art/new wave singer Kylo Kush. Kylo is a longtime Vince collaborator and featured on some of his best songs. Prima Donna is another gold medal for the Michael Phelps of rap. Vince is at his best stride yet and only appears to be backstroking. Up to this point of his career, I would hope that you didn't forget about Vince's ability to work around beats. With every new project, Vince Staples never slacked in restructuring his production core to promote a new sound. With that being said, only a few months later, and we enter the Big Fish era. This point in Vince's career is the highest, just out of virtue that Vince's career has been a steady rocket upwards. He releases a couple singles, Big Fish and Rain Come Down, for his upcoming album, Big Fish Theory. This album is as great as any other projects, but with an added experimental twist. The production is more experimental than ever, and many publications call it avant-garde. The NME review, which is a 5 out of 5, calls it a dystopian G-funk. This album might be harder to appreciate off of a first impression, but once the album clicks, the energy behind the songs becomes infectious. The beats are rustic, deviating, and experimental in a way that hip-hop/funk has probably never been expressed. The way Vince keeps up with his unorthodox beats is as impressive and a continued reflection of his talent. After release of Summertime '06 and then a great EP with Prima Donna, Vince did it again with a fresh and experimental album. He called himself a big fish, a megalodon in the industry. The album made so many year-end lists, and that includes at least 20 of them. After going radio silent a bit after the release of Big Fish, Staples launched a GoFundMe to fund his early retirement. He played off the stunt on Twitter for a couple weeks and insisted that he needed $2 million to retire early. In the end, the whole thing ended up being a smart marketing campaign for his new single, Get the Fuck Off My Dick. After giving the hip-hop community a taste of something post-Big Fish, Staples laid down one of the final staples of 2018 by dropping the album FM in November. The 11-track project boasts features from Ty Dolla $ign, J-Rock, Earl Sweatshirt, Kamaya, Tiger, and Kalani, and many more other people. All contributing voices on the album came from West Coast natives. The album is stylized as an airing of Big Boy's Neighborhood, a nationally syndicated FM radio station based in Los Angeles. The album is used as a platform to reveal short snippets of new music by Earl Sweatshirt and Tyga, just as radio stations often premiere new songs. FM seems to be a continuation of the funkier beat experimentation that we saw in Big Fish Theory, but the album does have more of a consistent West Coast feeling to it, almost as if the project was prepped for a block party. Between rumbling/slightly warped 808s, shy horns, and threatening keys, FM is a quick listen that forces Vince in and out of your ears. The most traditional and conscious track on the album, Tweakin', is an ode to dead homies, while also a reflection on the career that Vince has had so far. At this point, it's better not to question what Vince's next move will be. His track record has led us to spare a rare trust that we barely get to spare in musicians. But to stress this one more time, you should only really take this as seriously as he takes himself.